Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the vlog, episode number 17. As the month of July comes to a close, we find ourselves in the red for this month, and for the first time since I started keeping track and doing this vlog. Almost $600. So this is going to be the last session I probably get in before the end of the month, so I'm going to try to fill in that hole a little bit. It would be great if we could get back to even, but with the way I've been playing lately, that's a pretty big dream. The last couple episodes I haven't played very well, and I've realized it after the fact. So I've gone back over, I've watched those episodes, and I'm going to try to tighten up a little bit and stop trying to make things happen and just let them happen organically. And hopefully that will provide for a winning session and get us closer to breaking even this month. So without any further ado, let's get to it. Without any further ado, no one talks like that. All that stuff I said in the intro about tightening up and playing smart, yeah, you can punt that shit in the trash. 5 hands in, we're on the button, and we look down at 10-jack offsuit. There's one limper from early position before an action player in the cutoff raises to $15. I know I'm only on my 5th hand, but this guy has been involved in every pot and really been pushing the action. I make the call, the big blind calls as well, and the early position limper calls, so we're off to a flop 4 ways. The flop is 9-jack queen with 2 hearts, so I flop middle pair and an open-ended straight draw. It checks to the cutoff, who bets $25. I think that's a pretty good price to continue, so I call, as do the other 2 players. We're still 4 ways to a turn. The turn is a 6 of spades, it doesn't change anything, and the action checks all the way to me here. And I really think there's only one play to make, and that's to make a polarizing size bet, so I shove all in for $157. The big blind who checked then shoves all in for less, about $142. The player in early position then also makes the call for about $105. The only player that doesn't call, the action cutoff. He folds. So we're off to a river. The big blind goes ahead and shows his hand. He has pocket 9s for the flop set. Early position says he needs a club, so I have a lot of things I have to fade and very specific cards that I'm looking for here on the river. You can hear in the video me calling for a red 8.
Red 8.
And the river card is not red, it's black. But it's the 8 of spades. I table my hand and I scoop this monster pot. We're in the big blind now when we look down at ace-jack of spades. It folds to a late position player who raises all in for $20. This was the gentleman that called my all in earlier looking for clubs. The small blind then acts out of turn and calls the bet, and I'll let you listen in here.
Call, huh? Call. If I want to. No, he's auction first.
Oh, you call.
No, he's auction first. That's the reason you told me to get my money back.
Call.
Hey, listen. Stop it, guy. Stop it. You know better than that. Since it's not my auction, even I put $20,
No.
I'm still gonna call. Listen. That's not my auction. That was his auction. I'm gonna call, but don't say that.
All right.
If you call the floor, they will tell you the same thing.
All right.
The auction is not on me, it's on him. I'm still gonna call, but don't be telling me, oh, I have to call $20. I'm not right, guy. The auction is on him.
No, if you act out of turn, your bet can be binding depending on who's running the floor.
So, his call is enforced, and I decided to go ahead and make a play here, and I raised to $60.
I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just saying certain floor members will make that bet stand. Because it may have happened to me last week when I acted out of turn. So
It folds back to the small blind, who actually ends up folding his hand, so I'm up against queen 10 versus this short stack player. The run out does not improve us, and he catches a queen on the river, so he's going to win this small pot. We're in the hijack now when we look down at king 10 of hearts. It folds all the way around to the low jack, who raises to $15. I'm the only caller here, so we're off to a flop heads up with the action player. The flop is 8-5-5 with 2 hearts, so I flop the second nut flush draw. The low jack leads out for $25, and I make the call, so we're off to the turn. The turn is an ace of diamonds, so it doesn't improve me in any way. However, the low jack down bets to $10. So obviously at this price, I have to make the call and see the river, and so I do. We're off to the river. The river is an interesting card. It's the 5 of diamonds. My opponent then leads for $100, about a pot-sized bet. He may be a little steamed at me over that last hand, but it's really hard to put $100 in with king high on this board. Not to mention, he has about $900 in front of him, so he's either a good player or he's been lucky all day long. So I make the fold here. There's an under the gun straddle. We're in +1 and we look down at queen jack of clubs. I open the action for $17 and it folds all the way around to the button who jams for 56. This is the same short stack who moved in with queen 10 off earlier, so I know he has the potential to shove light when his stack is short. It folds back to me and I decide to go ahead and make the call here. The reason I call is it's only about 9% of my stack to call, and if he wins, he'll stay in the game and continue to make questionable shoves. So the runout does not improve us in any way. He shows ace 10 for ace high and he wins. So again, some would probably consider this shove light on his part, so I don't hate making the call here. We're on the button now and we look down at ace 5 offsuit. There's two limpers and I decide to go ahead and limp my action. The small blind folds and the big blind checks, so we're off to the flop. The flop is ace 10 queen, so it's a very connected board, but I do have top pair. I bet $10, and Jose, who's a vlog watcher, is my only caller, so we're off to the turn. The turn is a 4 of hearts, brings in a heart flush draw. Jose checks to me, and I bet out for $15.
I can't with 2 hearts. I have to bet. I have to bet with 2 hearts.
Is the hearts you're worried about?
You've seen my vlog. I'm worried about anything and everything.
Yeah.
He kind of gives a laugh and then ends up folding, and we win this small pot. We're in the cutoff when we look down at ace jack of clubs. There's 2 limpers before the action gets to me and I bump it up to $12. The button makes the call, the small blind makes the call, and 1 early position limper makes the call, so we're off to the flop 4 ways. The flop is 7-9-4 rainbow, so I don't really catch a piece here, but the action checks all the way through, so we're off to the turn. The turn is a 2 of clubs. It checks to me and I decide to go ahead and put a bet out to see where I'm at, so I bet $25. The small blind is my only caller, so we're off to the river. The river is a 7 of hearts, so we don't get there. My opponent checks to me, and with the action checking on the flop and calling on the turn, I'm actually putting the small blind on either a weaker club draw or maybe a weak king or some sort of middle pocket pair. So for that reason, I decide to go ahead and put him all in for $66. Unfortunately, he calls pretty quickly. I tell him he's good, and he shows a 7 for trips. I think my idea was a good one had he not had a 7. Almost any other river card, and I think that play probably works, but it doesn't work this time. I said in the intro I needed to tighten up. I win 1 big hand and I'm back to bluffing and calling light. It's time for me to slow down. We're in middle position and we look down at pocket 7s. There are 2 limpers and I decide to go ahead and limp and set mine. The low jack limps as well, and it folds to the big blind who checks his action, so we're off to the flop. The flop is deuce 9 with 2 hearts. It checks to me, and this is a pretty good board for 7, so I go ahead and put a bet of $10 out. Only the low jack calls, and so we're off to the turn. The turn is a jack of diamonds. It brings a second flush draw on. I slow down and check, and the low jack bets $20 here. So I make the call looking to see a good river. The river is a blank. It won't change anything. I check, and my opponent shoves all in for $48. It's not a big bet, but what do I beat here? It was a limp pot, so he very well could have a 2, or a jack, which is why he took the betting lead on the turn. I end up making a very frustrated fold. He mucks his hand, and I ask him to show the bluff, and he said that he had a 9, which I can't beat. Not really sure what I'm doing here. Why am I calling the turn to fold the river? We're in middle position and we look down at pocket jacks. There's 1 limper before I raise it up to $12. The small blind calls and the limper calls as well, so we're off to a flop. The flop is ace 6-9, so it's not a great flop. The small blind then jams for $50.
Why do I play this stupid game and then put it on YouTube for people to watch?
It's not a very big bet. I do have pocket jack, so I end up calling it off. The other player folds. The runout doesn't improve us at all, and he announces ace high and shows ace 10. He actually has a pair of aces, but just proving I can't seem to win with pocket jacks. We're in the cutoff, and we look down at ace queen offsuit. There's a limp from under the gun and it folds all the way around to me. I bump it up to $12. Under the gun is my only caller, so we're off to a flop. The flop is Jack Queen 7 with 2 diamonds, so I flop top pair here. It checks to me, I bet out for $10, and my opponent actually raises me to $25. I make the call, and so we're off to the turn. The turn is a great card. It's another queen giving me trips, and my opponent actually takes the betting lead and leads for $35 here. There's really only one play.
You have what I want, and I will take it from you.
And that's for me to jam it all in, and he calls me off pretty quick for $105. The river is a 3 of clubs, shouldn't really change anything. I show my hand, and he asks if my kicker is an ace, and then mucks his hand. So he may have had some sort of weaker queen there, but glad to be scooping this pot. In the last hand of the night, we're in the hijack, and we look down at ace-king offsuit. There was one caller to the button straddle that I didn't see, and when the action gets to me, I raise to $20. Had I known that player was in the pot, I probably would have raised up to $25. The cutoff calls, the button calls, and the early position player calls, so we're off to a flop 4 ways.
I should have raised more. You're a pro.
Oh, absolutely.
The flop is king 10-6 with 2 clubs, so I flop top here. It checks to me, and I put out a continuation bet for $65. The cutoff folds, but then the button shoves all in for $176. The early position player folds, and it's back to me. I obviously snap this off, and we're off to a run out. The turn's a pretty good card. It's an ace of spades, and the river is a blank that doesn't change anything. I know I'm supposed to make him show first because I called his all in, but I've got 2 pair and I flip over my hand, and he angrily mucks his cards. I'm not sure how I could have been behind on the flop unless he played something like king 10, but we're scooping a pretty decent sized pot our way. After this hand, we started losing players and the table started to die a little bit, so after one last orbit, I decided to rack up and book a solid win. Okay, so that'll wrap up that episode. What a ride. They're not always pretty. As long as they're profitable, they're okay. Didn't quite climb out of my July hole. Came pretty close on the first hand. What a monster. Then after that, I just got real loose and just didn't play well. Then I started getting outflopped and ran a damn near $600 stack down to about 188 bucks. And I was pissed. I was tilted. I was considering just opening up and playing every hand and just dumping my buy-in, but for whatever reason I didn't. Then caught a little bit of luck and a little bit of run good there at the end and managed to take what appeared to be a pretty mundane bad session and turn it into a win. So ended the game for 200 tonight, out for 550. So 350 a profit. Like I said, doesn't quite climb us out of the hole that we dug ourselves into in July, but it definitely helps. Got some new subscribers tonight. Shout out to Sam who subscribed to the vlog. Got to play with Jose again, so shout out to Jose. And give a shout out to Destiny, the cashier at the cage. She took my information down, said she's gonna watch the vlog too, so shout out to her as well. If you guys are enjoying the content, make sure you drop that like and that subscribe. Please leave comments. That's how it lets me know that people are watching the videos and taking the information in. And we'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more poker content. And you can follow me on Instagram at 7cardflushpoker.